So here let's see how we can use the expectation theory to explain the term structure of the interest rate. And we know term structure of the interest rate has three facts. But in order to explain those facts, we have to take a look at the expectation theory. And we know for expectation theory, the long-term interest rate, the interest rate for the n-year bond equal the average of the short-term interest rate So you need to be familiar with this equation. This means the long-term bond, n-year bond equal the average of the 1-year bond over the n period. Because it's average, so we will divide it by n. One thing we can see from this equation is all these interest rate on the right hand side are short-term rate. So suppose the 1-year rate at time t increased and all other expected short-term interest rate remaining the same. What happened to the long-term rate? Yeah, you can imagine if you plug in the bigger number I1t, the 1-year rate at t, into this equation, the value of the average will increase. So this indicates if the 1-year short-term rate increase, the long-term rate on the n-year bond increase as well. On the other hand, if you see the 1-year rate decline, suppose all other interest rates remaining the same, it will cause a lower value of INT. So this means the 1-year rate declined. The bond with n years long-term rate will decline as well. So from this equation here, you can see clearly the short-term rate and the long-term rate, they move together. So which means expectation theory can explain fact 3. But what about the fact 1 and 2? If you look at the fact 1 says interest rate on the long-term bond are usually higher than interest rate on the short-term bond. But from the equation we just write out here, expectation theory, can you see from this equation the short-term rate or long-term rate, which one is bigger? It's really hard to say because the long-term rate is average of the short-term rate. From this equation, you cannot say the INT is greater than I1T. There's not enough information to make this judgment. So as a result, expectation theory cannot explain fact 1. What about the fact 2? Fact 2 say the interest rate on the short-term bonds are occasionally higher than interest rate on the long-term bond. Again, they try to make decision the size of this rate and this rate here. So which one is bigger? Does this equation tell you the INT occasionally smaller than I1T? No. Again, there's no enough information. So that's the reason cannot explain fact 2. So in order to explain the three facts, we have to base on the expectation theory, this equation, And from this equation, we can see it can only explain the fact 1, not it can only explain the fact 3, not fact 1 and 2.